including the people and places that draw the reader into the sights, sounds, and even the aroma of life. Her poems began appearing in journals in 2021, including the Gasconade Reviews, Strange Gods of the Prairie, and Trailer Park Quarterly. Brenda's first full book of poetry, The Unexpected Life, was published by Spartan Press in the summer of 2022, and that is what we are celebrating with her tonight, is her book, The Unexpected Life. So let's give it up for Brenda.
Thank you very much. So I wanted to start by just giving a little history of how I got to this place, and so I'm going to read this. So I used to go up to Jeff City a lot before the pandemic and go to the mall and go shopping, and I would go up 63 from Rolla, but sometimes I would take the back roads and come through Belle. And I noticed this little art gallery, and I just couldn't believe it, and I would stop and I'd look in. It was a professional art gallery. I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts, so I was very interested in this. So I was painting birds at that time. It was the end of 2019. And I thought, maybe I can have a show in there. So I contacted Mark McLean, and he came to Rolla and visited my art studio and saw the birds. I had 24 paintings of birds, and agreed to have me show there. And when he came over, I also had some poetry. So I read him a poem, and he said, those are a lot like the poems that they do here. So I have kind of two different kinds of poems. But anyway, so then in December of 2020, I sent him a poem, and he said, oh, you ought to, we're getting ready to do another Gasconade review, you ought to send in some poems for that. And so I did, and they accepted 3 poems, Strange Gods of the Prairie. And so I want to thank Mark McLean for steering me into this opportunity. And I also want to thank Jason Reberg. He's my publisher with Spartan Press. And I professionally am a child therapist. So oftentimes kids in therapy will say, how do you do this or how do you do that? And it's real simple, and I know they know how, and they're kind of testing me to see if I have confidence that they're able to do that. So most of the time I'll say, I wonder if you can figure that out. And then they will, and I'll say, you asked me to help you, but you figured it out. So Jason is kind of like that as a publisher. He doesn't hover over the process or overcorrect, and that particular trait really helped me to feel more relaxed with the publishing process. So thank you, Jason. And I want to thank John Dorsey, who's not here tonight, and I'm very worried about him. So if you pray, have kind thoughts, we need to send him his way. He's got some health issues. But I want to thank him. He's a unique poet, and he's organizes all of these, the open mic. He brings in readers from around the country who are very talented and very inspiring. And he writes nonstop. And I think he commented he's written over 900 poems this year. Well, that's how many I've written in my life. So he's very inspirational. And sorry, I took a decongestant because of allergies, so I may have to go to the water. But I also want to thank Tony Hayden for his technological expertise in getting these put together and put on YouTube. And my family would have been here, but my niece turned 18 and her birthday party is tonight. So they're having a house full of teenagers. But one of the things she was excited about turning 18 is that she gets to vote Tuesday. She's so excited about that. So I think it's going to be a lot of water. So I grew up as a kid in what's called the survey. My dad was a topographic engineer with U.S. Geological Survey, so I grew up saying my dad is a map maker. So this when this was started after the war mostly, it got started and they mapped the whole country. In the summer, we lived in the north. In the north, we lived in the south. And by the time I was 10, I had moved 23 times. Wow. So then we moved to Rolla, which is the headquarters for the Midwest U.S. Geological Survey. And I lived there for several years. But moving all over the country is what kind of inspired much of the subject matter in my book. It's in 3 sections. The first 2 sections are somewhat what I would call autobiographical. and the first section is called This America. So I'm going to start. This book almost had a different title. It almost was Things You Couldn't Believe. And that title came from a conversation with my father, who was a World War II veteran. So this first poem is based on conversations with him about World War II. I saw things you couldn't believe. Dead horses, tanks, trucks, and wagons broken down on the road. This Frenchman found a plane in '44 and he flew it out. We saw planes all over, 24 hours a day. We slept in foxholes, ate sea rations, ate K rations, we ate out of cans, and lived on the ground. We never had it too bad. We were under Patton and he was on the move. That was from a conversation with my dad when he was getting chemotherapy. World War II veterans are famous for not wanting to talk about their experience, but he opened up. So this one, it's called The Greatest Generation. I doubt my father ever drank a latte. Computers were the size of a small room. Old Spice, pencil shavings, and here's Johnny. He did own a microwave, but I never saw him use it. No crocheted Afghans or cushiony toilet seats. Politics were argued face to face and not behind pixels. Senior trips to the city, tomatoes, newspapers, and crippled hands that gripped a golf club. My father took his coffee black. So now we're going to go to South Dakota. My mother grew up on a farm that was a homestead farm in South Dakota. And this is called The Farm, Campbell County, South Dakota. The still, spacious kitchen at the farm, before the room filled with bright, bright sunlight, voices before the gathering of belly-warm chicken eggs and bowls of cereal, and warm, fruity Cougans. The small top drawer filled with pennies and nickels and dimes. It smelled of gum, minty and sweet. The floor in the utility room is cool. The stone-shaped tiles fit together like a large sepia-shaded puzzle. I imagine the shapes were countries, or boots, or spaces to play hopscotch on. The floor was strong, and its integrity lasted long after the farm was abandoned. So this is called the Camelot years. Mother drank milk out of those wax cartons, leaving red lipstick kisses. Hamburger helper, drive-in theaters, cold cream, bobby pins, and perms. Cigarettes were fashionable. My cousins were fascinated with her makeup rituals, hanging on the edge of the sink counter, watching each step involving those small tubes and jars. Sunday hats, Jell-O molds, station wagons, and Della Reese. She never had to work. Dad took care of the crabgrass. She took care of braces, glasses, and Dr. Seuss. So now we're going to New Orleans. High heels. Mother wore high heels to the beach. I don't know how she did that. We collected some seashells, ate lobster, and had coffee at Café du Monde. So I've been a Red Cross volunteer, disaster services, mental health. So these next two poems are about my volunteer experience. This one's 9/11. It was my first deployment. And it was the poem was actually inspired by a song called Fender's Folk Song with the jazz group 442s out of St. Louis. So a lot of these lines in here are specific to the different people that I counseled. So these are like first-hand accounts. So I'm an optimistic, outgoing person, but I noticed that almost 2/3 of this book is pretty, not dark, but it's, things that are pretty serious, but eyes reaching from dark spaces, running from thick clouds, emerging into light, but it's not light. It's a darkness not defined by color, a darkness with no space. Life falling, step lightly, breathe slowly. Sense the pulse, the slow energy, the thick cascade of fear. Dancers spinning in slow motion with open palms pleading. Spinning a little faster, confusion and uncertainty, sustained by steps, by slow steps, heat, panic, dizziness, sleeplessness, the hole in your heart, the rock on your head, the dirt on the ground, that spinning again. Just be with people, don't be alone. So now we're going to South Beach in Miami after Hurricane Wilma. And I was assigned to headquarters at Hurricane Wilma. I was the assistant to the state mental health director. And I had a friend there. He was also assigned to headquarters. So this is called the Marine. It was a silent walk through the Art Deco district on South Beach. The breeze was mild and warm. Few businesses were open. The hurricane left a dank smell. I thought he was kidding when he asked, "Do you want to get a tattoo?" But I said, "No, that's okay." Tattoos are like road maps to Marines. After that, he seemed lost as to what to say. The empty streets led to the beachfront, a flattened beach ball, seaweed hanging like tinsel, wet socks, soggy mattresses. We turned back. "Where are you going next?" "I think back to Louisiana." "Oh, okay." I glanced at his arms. He had been at Katrina prior to that, so he was going back. Hot Springs, Arkansas. The Chocolate Poodle. Open mic at the Park Avenue Hotel in Hot Springs. The old woman looked weary and walked stiffly as she arrived through the side door with the chocolate poodle. Its eyes were fearful, tentatively scanning the room, unsure, stepping and tapping on the marble floor like a nervous bodyguard. They crossed the lobby. She placed the dog in the elevator and closed an old metal gate half the height of the elevator. We watched as she did this. She read her poem, then the Yugoslavian read a poem about George Burns. This is another one in Hot Springs called The Serbian Clergyman. Antique brass fixtures, deep burgundy carpet, crystal lights. It can be awkward riding an elevator with a stranger. This man makes no eye contact. He's a man of the collar. "What church do you represent?" A long pause. I expect clergy to be open and friendly. This man seems cold and distant, almost annoyed. He responds reserved and resolutely, "Serbian Orthodox. I consider that there is a war in Serbia." He proclaims with pride and with a hint of defiance, "Serbia is a nation, you know." Would his attitude have been different if he had known my great-grandpa was born in Serbia? He steps off the elevator and never looks back. So now we're coming back to Rolla. This is called the Dollar General. Everybody must have a poem about the Dollar General. Standing in line at the neighborhood DG, 6 feet apart or closer. Bags of kitty litter, melatonin, notebooks, guy with black tattoos fading green, Heath bars, glancing eye contact, toilet paper, cashews, girl with piercings heavy with bling, light bulbs, small talk, and cat food, good old boy with a package of diapers. energy drinks, smiles, beans, and aluminum foil, giggling teens with bags of Takis. The lines for parking spaces are worn and barely visible. So this is called masks. Between groups that differ, there has been a space. Class and culture, color and race. Attitudes disrupt a certain balance. Perceptions force us apart. Interactions can be manipulated by social power. With this new separation comes eye contact, sometimes bold, sometimes shy. No distance can mistake this new connection, this new exploring of a meaning deeper than eye color.
If you run out of water, I have more in my van.
Allergy meds, what,
Like I
six
said, I
of them
have a
doesn't
hand
matter.
of these. If you need it, I got more.
Thank you. So this is called the quiet zone. Seated in a quiet zone, we share the space and focus. In these places we come to listen and feel our spirits. The quiet hum of the heat, the stir of the air above, just a chill on our feet. We prepare for a lesson from the moment of truth and hear the meaning spoken in between the beats. So I've heard that sometimes poets, their first book is more like an autobiography. So they're kind of personal. The last section gets more into the type of poetry I'm doing now. All right, so now we're going to Durant, Mississippi in the 60s, called the segregated town. In 1962, I was 8 years old. We had moved to Durant, Mississippi, a town where the schools were segregated, a year when 36 black churches were burned down, the year the Old Miss riot raged in Oxford, during which Paul and Ray were murdered execution style. A white and Negro town. I walked home from school alone, carrying a lunchbox, counting telephone poles, kicking rocks, doing things most kids do when they're bored. I spotted some Negro children, laughing and free and playing near the railroad tracks, under a bridge by the creek. Hopeful to join in, I walked towards them. But when their mother saw me, she shoved the screen door open and stepped out onto the worn wooden porch, looking worried and frantic and fearful, shouting to her children, "Get in the house, right now." And now they looked fearful too. And I just stood there for a moment as she gathered them to her like baby chicks, thinking I didn't feel like a hawk or a coyote. If only she had known and understood I had not grown up in that town. Durant, same town. The Bay of Pigs. The Bay of Pigs had been intensifying. Living so close to the coast, there were air raid drills in our elementary school. We crouched under desks, or with hands overhead, and one time under the bleachers. We waited. I imagined that the Blue Angels would soon fly over. I got two more from Durant, but this is November 1963. More water. Second row from the door, 4 seats back. There was something different in the intercom tone. The teacher had a strained expression. She told us to be quiet as she left the room. When she returned, we learned that my president had been assassinated. The next day during recess, 3 girls, classmates, girls I really didn't know, came to school. One dressed in red, one dressed in white, one dressed in blue. They cheered on the playground. "Kennedy is dead! Kennedy is dead!" I stood behind the teacher, She nervously glanced at me. I came to understand John F. Kennedy meant civil rights, the freedom for all to vote, the end to their school, the end to their way of life. The things you do when you move around, I see and hear when you move around.
Mm-hmm.
So Vienna, Virginia. Rufus Youngblood. In 1968, we lived next door to Rufus Youngblood in Vienna, Virginia for a year. Rufus used his body to shield Vice President Johnson during the tragic assassination of John Fitzgerald Kennedy in Dallas, Texas. Later, President Johnson made him the head of the Secret Service. Outside D.C., you never knew who you might be living next door to. I never once saw him. He simply drove his car into his garage and closed the door into the deep recesses of a confidential world. Crockett, Texas. The boy and the parakeet. Roaming the neighborhood in Crockett, Texas, jumping up and down on a stranger's trampoline, a boy showed off as he rode his horse, acting all big and grown up, me with my fist on my hips. Spying on a parakeet through a front glass window, gazing into a home at a small emerald bird. The woman opened the cage to show the bird could fly. It flew furiously around the room. When she opened the screen door, it brushed by my face. The boy on the horse pulled on the reins and we watched the green bird fly away. It wasn't my fault. He just made a beeline for the door. So we're back to Durant. We lived in Durant 3 times. So we went Durant to Sioux City, Durant
And
to
where's
Sioux-
Durant?
Mississippi,
Mississippi.
deep in Mississippi. The teacher looked stern after coming in from recess. Who took the quarter off my desk? No one said anything. We all stared at the floor. She lined us up, told everyone to close their eyes, and march around the room, around the chairs, around her desk. Whoever stole that quarter, put it on my desk, and you won't get in trouble. We all marched silently around the room until she stopped us, but no one had returned the quarter. She lined us up again, had us turn around, and proceeded to smack each one of us with a long wooden paddle. I still wonder who stole that quarter. Do they ever think about it? Sioux City, Iowa. Retaliation. During recess that day at the Sioux City Elementary School, sides were chosen and bases taken. I covered third base, and he came running around the bases as fast as you please, and as he passed, he kicked me hard in the shins with his pointy cowboy boots, grinning all the way to home base. When it was my turn to run the bases, I kicked him hard at third base, the same way he had kicked me, but with soft shoes. He screamed and held his leg in exaggerated pain, grinning again. I got caught and was sent back to the classroom, smug and resolved. The retaliator is the one who usually gets caught. Parentheses, best home run ever. No, just kidding. No,
I
I'm
got
good.
full bottle there
All
for
right,
you.
well, I might need it. South Sioux City, Nebraska. It's just across the river. This is called the football. Just a little history on this. They thought I had rheumatoid arthritis. So I had spent part of the summer in the hospital prior to this grade. The doctor told her parents she needs to wear pants to school. In 1963, girls wore dresses. She needs to keep her legs warm, so I wore pants to school. Somewhere in the playground, I heard the bell ring. Recess was over. There it was. I picked it up, the football. Heading to the door, I held that ball like a prize, eyes locked on my teacher, and in that instance, her expression changed. And then it went dark. I was at the bottom of a pile of boys tackled. True. I couldn't see the light of day. I stood up, shook it off, stood tall, and handed the football to the teacher. Touchdown. Turns out I didn't have juvenile RA after all. Herndon, Virginia, where I went to high school. I wrote this in third person, but it was about me. You're gonna know that. The girls' locker room. The worst part of gym was the requirement to shower after class. Shower heads dripping and echoing from stall to stall, flip-flops suctioned to the floor, the combined scent of a dozen or so deodorants, usually no one paid attention, standing in front of your locker, dressing hurriedly. Suddenly, a bully was in the quiet girl's space. Do you hate anyone? Sensing a trick question, the quiet girl said with a little hesitation, yes. Was it a lie? Doesn't everyone hate someone? This threw the bully off. She looked confused. Her answer had been rehearsed. So she went ahead and said it. Well, I hate people who don't hate anyone. This book almost had a different cover. I love this cover. I almost put, you know how you see the signs when you're traveling, watch for falling rocks. So I almost wanted to have a cover with falling rocks in the road. But it changed. I'm glad I did because I love the cover. This is called Falling Rocks. Highway signs warn, watch for falling rocks. That always caught my attention. Perking up, standing on the floorboard of the car, watching as we approached the cliffs, were beside the cliffs, and after the cliffs, always disappointed that I never saw them fall. Has anyone ever seen them fall? Maybe when you least expect it. So this is D.C. Nixon. Some of us went into D.C. to sightsee. We explored the Capitol building, the subway under the dome, walked to the White House, rounded a corner. The black wrought iron gates of the side entrance made a slight groaning sound, deliberately opening slowly, and as they opened, a long black limousine edged out cautiously. President Richard Nixon, only a few feet away, looked directly at me. His expression was strained, worried. Behind the thick glass window, he seemed small and unsure when he waved.
What year was that?
71. Early. Or maybe 70 going to 71. The critical time. Okay, so now that's kind of my life, kind of in a nutshell, sort of. Not really. The third section, I'm calling it Staying Centered. So we have all these different tragedies we go through in life. We have to find a way to kind of calm, stay centered, find what's meaningful. Do not take a decongestant when you're going to read. Moon's glow. Ethereal has a meaning that floats into your soul and finds moments to play with air. No boundaries, moon's glow without density, expanding into new limits where space is the dark side of light. And this one's called Zephyr. Time slipped past midnight. I heard the seconds as they paused, the chilly rain as it drowned, and deeper, deeper down, drops like black ink soaked the ground. Obscuring light, the dark, no star, a zephyr leaves a trail, revealing nature's icy cause, gone are meadows green, and leaving most skies pale. Gone are meadows green and all the leaves entailed, blustery blue air, frozen streams, and frosted fields, the cold prevails. It snowed then, so many flakes, so wild and free, in mounds buried deep, deep, deep. The air so stirred shrouds every tree, the crispness on the ground it lay, all surface found, no shape to keep. The snow it fell, it lulled to sleep. So clean, so clear, I think it may portray no sound this winter day. And this is the poem that's on the back cover, called Continuous Flow. Pausing for a moment, sensing that the eternal ripples have their say. It seems everlasting. You realize here is something never ending. Each minute wave lasting for a second, only to be joined in the continuous flow of matter. Progression. Realization itself dawns slowly. Just as a sunrise announces its arrival gradually, one senses a change in self must be gradual, a progression, becoming a portion of the more complete one. So I don't do a lot of rhyming, and this is really a rhyming poem, but it's kind of still one of my favorites. It's called A Poem Appears. I grow a little conscious of what these phrases bring, fragmented, sometimes rigid, so peculiar they be seen. A little dash, apostrophes, a comma here and there, syntax and some pentameter, a verse, a poem appears. And this is called Watching the Stars. Late night decaf, stirred sweet with a fork, cooled, swirled, air and bubbling air below the surface. No cold steps, just an open window, enough to breathe and for Cat to watch the stars. He does that. Couple more. It's called Vines. Whispering syllables remind me of cautious secrets, where words lack dimension and darken what lies behind the eyes. When actions are disguised in symbolic interactions, tangled in a system of reasons that don't rhyme, like vines clinging inside minds, with inconsistent timing, for the many who had to endure a divergent walk when gravity denied an exit. I'm going to read this one. One of my best friends said this was her favorite poem. She lived next door to me when I lived in Rolla back in the 60s, and she moved to Texas. But anyway, she loved this poem, so she worked in a supermarket while she was going to college, so she related to it. It's called Order. Order is predicted in some lives when tomatoes are arranged like pyramids in local supermarkets, waiting for that one tomato to be pulled, sparking a cascade of red boulders, sliding toward the apples, the avocados, and the pears, that moment of truth most likely being watched by security cameras capturing the anxiety, carefully arranging it all, once again, thinking maybe this might actually be a good place to work. And she said they do watch through the security cameras in the produce department. So I was like, oh, okay. Let's see, a couple more. This is called Finally. In the cellular places where feelings compete with concerns that shouldn't rhyme, where imaginary words attempt to seep out of pores and pretend they can think on their own, when random papers caught by breezes collect in tree hollows, where they collude and work their way into some type of meaning, some type of plan where something finally makes sense. And the last one, called The Fragrance of Memory. I missed the sunset tonight, but was able to recall a fragrant peach from the past and settle into a quiet observance of a secret sun, where bright, noisy sounds evaporate into the lingering light. And I was going to read a poem. I didn't write this one, but if John Dorsey had been here, I was going to dedicate it to him, because he said maybe it'll snow today and we'll have all these people. But anyway, this is by my niece when she was 5 years old. Snow falls, snow calls. Snow is drifting everywhere. Snow hurries, snow flurries. Snow is falling everywhere. Snow is lazy. Snow is crazy. Snow is spinning everywhere.
Wow.
So thank you. Thank you very much.
If you don't mind, let's give it up one more time for Miss Brenda.
Thank you.
She does have books available out front, and we will take a break after our next featured reader. But our next featured reader is Mr. Stephen Bridges. He's a current OAC resident, and for some reason my phone won't pull up the bio that John sent me. So he's a current OAC resident, and he has a published book by Spartan Press from 2017, I do believe. So, Mr. Stephen Bridges.
Thank you. I'm going to move this chair and sit in that.
Just make sure you line up with the camera, because that stool is with the camera.
I talked to my technical people. I think they're going to take care of it. Here you go. Oh, a recliner.
Wow.
Only the best. Thank you, sir. I'll just try and sit up straight. Pretend I'm awake. Thank you very much. I appreciated the comment about the first poem being autobiographical. So I thought, well, that'll let me off the hook. All of mine are autobiographical, I guess. This is about, well, you'll figure it out. A Leviathan I glimpsed, the glory of it rising up like that, the dark sea parted momentarily. A Leviathan I glimpsed, a veritable Jeroboam of a poem. A giant pterodactyl it was, flying into the sun, gone. No fucking pencil. Oh, if we could just save all the applause till the end, if everyone's hands could rest. Thank you.
There you go.
Anyway, this is from my first book, Strange Beauty Shows, and I wanted to thank Mr. Reberg and the Osage Arts Community colleagues from helping me with getting this pulled together. As I suppose many of us have, I've had a year full of my friends passing on, and this was written long before that, but still I look back and I can see, you know, the pressure that they were under. But, you know, good things come from it. Days full of surprises. Do you feel the pressure of your days adding up? The leaky boat, the seasick bag, the roaring falls ahead as you sail merrily, merrily on downstream. Have you caught a glimpse of your chums in the distance as they struggle to hold onto their boats, only to finally drop off into memory? The days and nights flash by us like lighthouse beacons. Friends don't call. They can't keep up either. Just too busy worrying about their own time warp and the colostomy bag of death that awaits us all. I just want to gingerly grasp a few brief moments of joy, gaiety, and plunder before I pull the heavy wooden lid down over my head on the way to that final, urgent, and unscheduled meeting with the conqueror worm. Eat well, my hearties. I certainly have. The buffet here is apparently infinite, but I'm still hungry, thirsty, sleepy, and then, like clockwork, the tides wash me up here again at the doorsteps of yet another pagan spring. Still breathing every day, in and out, in and out. I turn to see flocks of birds heading north 1 minute, then turning tail southward the next, and me breathless as I watch leaves fall, spiders web and fatten, as we all slide inexorably into our comic holiday darkness. My heart's beating, usually, but sometimes it's gone missing, lost in the immense canyon of my chest. It's such a relief to find it again, the real source of my meager powers. And that fatty stuff between my ears remains a tiny chatterbox of fluff, though happily sometimes from deep inside my sugary protein fog, a poem pushes itself on through, incalculably amusing, full of surprises, bedazzled, brilliantly freckled, suntanned, oily and giggling, with an anklet and a flashing jeweled scimitar.
We'll clap if we want to.
Yeah, okay, that's right, thank you. It's all right. I have to give up any, any idea of control.
Right.
And I've been thinking about, or at least writing some stuff about the, it just seems this stuff from the ancient world comes out, and this is when I remembered from back then. All now sunk and long ago gone. I started hearing stories about the sea long ago, about the Phoenicians sailing everywhere, fearlessly in their little lateen-rigged ships of olive wood and Syrian cedar, trading with the lost tribes. And I heard about Ulysses and his journey home after that mythic little war, and Aeneas and Jason. I heard about them. They shipped out too, leaving Troy and Carthage in flames behind them. I heard about Cleo and Tony, the young lovers. It didn't turn out so well for them at sea, as I recall. Those crazy kids, thinking they could get one over on the evil empire. They almost had it made until she turned tail at Actium. Then, after sailing home to Alexandria, she took the little ringed asp to her breast as her dreams of empire fell apart. She abandoned Tony to twist endlessly in that dry Egyptian wind that still blows in from Homer's wine-dark sea. And as I said, the big ships with those big guns, like the 1,000 that Menelaus sent to Troy after Helen, that little bitch, are all now gone, and long ago sunk, like me, forever trapped, burning, and drowned in your tawny tiger eyes.
Oh, he's not the boss.
Yeah, I'm not the boss.
We'll clap if we want to.
Yeah, you go ahead. Who am I to stop you?
That's right.
Just soak it up. Soak
Huh?
up all those effects.
Yeah. The lonely radio. The lonely radio in my head plays my poems and love songs all day long. I know you're out there somewhere with your radio on too. What songs you play, I haven't a clue. It's said that Taoist masters wrote songs and poems on fallen leaves and then threw them into fast-moving mountain streams, laughing. Or they would scribble them with plum branches on marble-smooth ponds, reflecting the distant stars, only to have them explode brilliantly by surprised old bullfrogs meditating there. But the songs play on in my head. Sometimes it's just rush hour traffic buzzing there in the background. But sad can get happy too, like when it's Ray's big band, backed by the Raylettes, of course, and everyone's playing and singing like angels. Sometimes, though, it's Bud Powell's melancholy trio, or maybe just you at the baby grand in the lobby, tinkling away at some silent chopsticks somewhere east of the sun and west of the moon.
How's that feel?
So quiet.
Hazard
Yeah.
non
No, I like that. A crack only. While in the tub tonight, washing away my sins on the new moon, I opened my tiny window, a crack only. Spring wetness rushed in, and you with it, carried in on the wings of the church bells tolling across the way. It's not really all that far, just the distance between my tears and the rain. Sad, it's so sad. You know, I picked this thing up and I read through it and I go, these aren't half bad. All right, I better get moving here. Oh, this is for Jason. Back in the old days, they would, at the Prospero's Books up in Kansas City, they would have the Prospero's Pit on Sunday nights was it once a month?
Once a month.
Yeah. And it would just get to be about that time. It's like sundown, and I would just be, exhausted. And so I would just, have to go to bed early. And I was always felt so guilty about not going and, reading some bit of drivel that I had. So one year I wrote this about missing those readings and all the others since then. Sorry, so sorry, old chap, to miss the poets reading again. But that time of day, I tend to blink and wither at the thought of approaching dusk. I fade off into unconscious napdom, powerless to recover from an exhausting lifetime of opinions and wordless dreams. You all read on. I hear your mutterings from afar as the surf of sleep crashes over my pillow. Silent songbirds peek in my window again, curious still. Jung and Freud appear in dreamland, still fighting. Nature or nurture, cigars or cocaine, archetypes or neuroses, with me stretched out on the couch between them, oblivious in oblivion. A sweet dreaming prince, so innocent, so vulnerable, all stress, all imagination gone, as my tub fills slowly from the drain below. That's the peanut gallery out there. Okay, here's a nature poem. This is good for being out here in Belle because there's, so much nature. It's everywhere. And it just rained too. Cicadas interrupted. The rainstorm begins slowly, sprinkling droplets gently from clouds towering behind my trees. Thunder builds in the distance, silencing the cicadas in the grass. Storm clouds can be clearly seen from every window out there just over the silver barn on the hill. These dusty windows are covered with vines. Some have broken into the house between the glass panes and the old wood frames, seeking any possible way in. Perhaps a reminder to us all to persevere somehow. Church bells across the way enunciate the slow passage of summer. One bell at the quarter hour, 2 bells at the half, then 3 bells and whatever, straight up. Cars race by, their sound, so far away in the distance, is only a whoosh of white noise, just like the real world. Thunder above the clouds rattles and booms, shaking my dishes in their rack. Big and little lightning flashes tease us, pink, red, gold, from behind the mountainous wall of gray clouds rolling this way. Darkness finally falls with the rain, now heavy as it soaks every little thing. A pair of red and black butterflies casually seeking sanctuary in my house fly in through the open door, and of course they immediately discover the half-closed, vine-covered window and are trapped there, throwing themselves furiously against the dirty glass, time and time again, wanting only to escape their newfound refuge. Then, right on cue, an ambulance races up our hill, mercifully speeding on its way, coming to help, I assume. The rain finally stops, and the cicadas pick up where they left off, having barely missed a beat. All right, that's enough of that. I have another book coming out, and you can see it's kind of getting beat up, so I guess that's a good sign. And that Jason, when it's getting kind of beat up, yeah, okay. I'll do my best because there's still a lot of scratching on this. I don't know who did that, but one of my many selves, no doubt. Anyway, the name of this book is The Hobo Bob Cantos. Now, Hobo Bob, I don't know. We'll just find out who he is. Hobo Bob's thirst unquenched. One time up in my Minnesota youth, long ago, I caught a sweet, tiny skink, a Pelestodon fasciatus, I believe, and imprisoned him in an old coffee tin, a prisoner of my love, because he was mine, finders, keepers, etc., etc., or so I thought. He died that same day of a tragic, thirsty loneliness that I seemed to have contracted from him, his dying wish on that parched summer's day. But somehow, so far and ever since, I've managed to stay outside the tin box, but my bottomless thirst somehow remains unquenched. Now, a couple of years ago, I died for a few minutes, and like 7 minutes. So I had a near-death experience, as they call them. They're very popular these days. And so I wrote this one about heaven. Hobo Bob dreams of heaven. Sure, heaven will be just swell. All the parties catered, the napkins all Irish linen and clean. The ancient silver is in proper order, from soup to nuts, spick and span, just like in the Royal Navy. The music will be nice and mellow, so you can hear a conversation for a change. They'll have a bunch of great bands for sure, and no one cares what happens between sets. The angels are really nice there. They don't talk back after a couple of drinks like around here. The dogs and cats have had all their shots, get to sleep indoors and have nice food. They will not be shitting just anywhere, like where you're gonna step next, barefoot. Surely the tables will be turned up there, no storms or unrequited rain or brutal winds, and no fucking mutual funds. People down here seem to like and hate it simultaneously. There won't be an army, a government, or cops, because the locals wouldn't put up with that the way the suckers, rubes, and marks do down here. They'll get away with any kind of amazing shit. You wouldn't believe what is swallowed whole, holiday wrapped, and hog-tied special every day in this neighborhood. It's always on the evening news. That's why most will never get past the three-headed dogs outside the pearly gates. Sad what they'll miss. I know there's some Fisher people in the neighborhood, so I have a short one here. It's a report that just came in. Hobo Bob reports on good bait right now for river fishing. Big chunks of fresh bluegill on a 2-ounce bank sinker with a big barrel swivel. Also big, a fat wad of night crawlers. Gizzard shad is king. Spotted suckers too. Cut carp, skipjack, any oily fish. A balloon filled with a dilution of water and Dawn dish soap. We await further reports to confirm this final entry. We've heard stranger. Texas. Didn't you read something about Texas, or a couple about them? Okay.
Crockett.
About what?
Crockett, Texas.
Crockett. Davy. Yeah,
The legend.
I was born on his birthday. Hobo Bob waxes nostalgic for the Old West. And this is kind of a song. I can't really sing anymore, but I'll just kind of read it. Seeing the bright lights of Dallas, feeling that prairie wind, watching those crazy wildflowers coming up springtime. I'm in ecstasy again. Seeing your smiling face, loving those faded jeans. Hold my hand now, baby, my head's beginning to spin. I'm in ecstasy again. I sure miss those boys from Lukenbach and those charming Houston Debs. I drank from the Pedernales, then swam the Rio Grande. I raced by Cadillac Ranch to climb those 10 big fins. But without your wildfire loving, how can I ever win? I'm dreaming of ecstasy again. You can have your down east horseshit or your Hollywood la-di-da. All I want is ecstasy and you with me again. I sure miss ladybirds bloomin' roadsides out by Austin and the pungent whiff a cow pie brings. I miss those cowboy poets and the range-fed rustlers ride, dreamin' of cooking up a whole beef side. I hear those lonesome longhorns callin' and the night birds cry. I dreamed of the smoke and shot at the Alamo, saw our heroes fall. I dreamed of Billy Bob and Davy. I dreamt I saw them all. And then I was at the book depository that awful fateful day, and the grassy knoll besides. A day clear and fine in Dallas, where nary a newsie lied. I saw the second gun a-runnin' and the bloodied wife who cried. I miss you most of all. Why did you have to die? These are so marked up, it's just... Okay, here's a good one. This is not political. Hobo Bob looks for spring in all the wrong places. For E.E. Cummings and Jonathan Swift with fondness. It's now rumored amongst those in the know that the powers that be will soon bring back lynching from horseback to discourage the vote, the traditional exercise of the franchise amongst our willful populace. Soon thereafter, no doubt, abortion will be wholly commandeered by the noble, pious, and holy amongst us to prevent love, sweet love, from further spreading its anarchic and riotous fright across our sacred land, finally reclaimed from the pagan other. Institutional disembowelment must certainly be close behind, discouraging those that might, by chance or choice, to become a mite peckish and decide to eat or snack late at night in the dark against their better judgment, while watching the great leader hungrily. Then finally, any and all windows that remain shall be covered, every single one sealed up tight as a drum with thick, strong sheets of foreign steel, long leg screws and bolts installed by a certified and bonded low bid to prevent folks from the final desperate act of defenestration, trying only to get outside to breathe in spring. Oh, here's another nature poem with some large mammals in it. Hobo Bob, one morning at the Elk Ranch. It's morning again here at the Elk Ranch, up the hill from the dead witch tree overlooking the creek. The birds announced dawn's arrival early this morning. They let each Other know their hopes and hungers for this brand new day. My window is now open for the first time this year. Our weather sure is swell here in early March. It's better now that we've had a week of thunderstorms passing through, heading east. I was beginning to worry about how dry it was everywhere. It made me feel strange all over, what with the age Anthropocene ticking away right outside my front door, all the way down to the mailbox. It will most likely be the shortest age of them all, particularly when there will be no more bean counters around to change the batteries in our atomic clocks. After those pumps shut down and the reactor cooling ponds dry up, the concrete core will overheat, catch fire, and breach the holding tank walls. Then the tainted and boiling tank water will drain out into the river and run glowing down to the dying sea. All the others too will melt down in their own sweet time, and then, well, that's all she wrote. But hey, it's going to be a short day, being Sunday and all. What's our time frame? Is there
One more.
one? A short one. Here's one. I like this one. This buddy of mine died. Luckily I went to see him a couple of weeks before. I told him it was all right to go on. Haven't been there. Hobo Bob rowing to Patros for Victor Campbell. So that's it. Pan, that is. He's dead. Or so some sailor yelled over to us as our trireme passed his somewhere on the moon-speckled Aegean. We were sailing between one little no-name island and another, trying to get home. The weather was great as usual, clear and clearer. Every star out watching us row. What a day for another death, and a big one to boot. The end of one era and the beginning of another simultaneously. Funny how that works. The demarcations of history are not usually so apparent until long after, but for now it's sackcloth and ashes. A Jeroboam of champagne poured into the sea. But Pan, he was the father of us all, except for Zeus, of course. He was not paternal, another holy drunk egging us on to greater and greater excess in the search for our own proverbial true selves. But we didn't really need to know. Now Pan's gone, and no doubt we will be herded into this new gray area that doesn't look like it will be all that much fun. It would have been better if the sailor had kept his mouth shut and his hands on the rudder. Maybe he heard the siren's song in the distance and suddenly changed course right onto their rocks. We would have learned of Pan's death in Patros, most likely. They know everything in Patros. The golden age would have lasted a bit longer for us ship-bound sailors heading home. We could have found out later and been sad then. So thank you very much.
Can we clap, please?
Can I clap?
What's that?
Can I clap?
An excellent audience. Oh no, here's another one. No, I'm just kidding.
Don't do that to me.
I'm not, you're taking over. It's all yours, and thank you.
Thank you. Let's give it up for Stephen one more
Thank you
time.
again.
Keep clapping.
That's right. Continue clapping. clapping for the man who doesn't want the claps. So I'm gonna leave it up to you guys. Normally we would take about a 5 to 10 minute break right now, but we only have a handful of open micers. If you guys want to take a break, I'm okay with that. Want to take a break? Okay, let's take a quick 5 to 10 minute break. Please consider going out and buying. Does this feel too dark? Would you like
The
to have all
animal
the lights
heads,
on?
and that was,
A little, I mean,
think
I don't
part
know
of
if
my
they can.
introduction.
injured, or Mark will have a conniption, and I don't want that.
Then I'm gonna have a conversation with the AV people.
A lot of Marks and Johns.
That's right, we're all
I'm
we're
glad
products
you're
of the
in charge
50s and
the AV
60s.
people.
About 5 minutes.
Yes.
I didn't bring mine.
Generally, we're about to have 3 or 4. You know,
That's probably.
you need to know your there's time to.
I picked shorter ones. I was like, man, most of mine are longer.
It's something like this one will have a lot of other it's not really
She was reading about, you remember all the stuff happened. Yeah.
you
Also cover class.
anything.
And kill the jet shot.
And I was in, we had a shared.
Do we have everybody in here?
I can still picture where I was.
I don't see anybody outside.
Kind of waiting for Mark to wander back this direction. Okay, I think we are going to go ahead and get started, but the first thing I would like to do is, first off, we need to thank Mark and Tony for being here in this location tonight.
You're all welcome.
These kinds of things never happen without OAC and the use of their buildings, and Tony for the AV equipment and being able to run that and have this online later. So if you're interested, these always get posted to OAC's YouTube page, and I believe it's also on their Facebook page after the fact. Tony would be able to answer that better, but I know it's on their YouTube.
It's also on Barb's book.
On Barb's books as well. And with that, I'm going to let Mark come up and kind of give a little spiel about what OAC is going to have going on for the rest of the year and in the new year. Let's give a hand to Mark.
Thank you, everyone. First of all, I want to say thank you for all of you art patrons. I'm an arts administrator, so I have to focus on art with a capital A. And in this small place that is Belle, Missouri, this small place that is Missouri, it's important for me to remind all of you to participate in things like this, that you're actually at an art event. And that just touches me so much, because that's what I do and that's my life, and that's what we do at Osage Arts Community. And because of those things, we're a nonprofit, and this building is part of what we do. This is Barb's Books, and it's a platform for the literary arts. A block away we have the Art Center, and that's for the visual arts, obviously. This space is only almost 3 years old, and we own it. We don't have a note or anything like that. So when you look at things that are a little crunchy, you see cobwebs here, you see construction that's just ongoing forever. Know that this is a nonprofit, and we work to get monies for this and that, and then most of the time we wait for those things to happen. So I really appreciate your patience. The most important thing that we do is keep the lights on, try to keep the toilet flushing and those kinds of things. But right now you're feeling a little bit uncomfortable because it's starting to get cold in Missouri. And that's important in this building, or significant in this building, is because there, if you look up, there's no vents. There's no HVAC in this building at all. This building it was built in the 30s. So when we purchased this building 3 years ago, there was a little furnace that I would think it would be a challenge to heat an RV. It was in here. It was only that little part of the building, the front little part of the building. So the price tag they tell me is about $20,000 to do that, and we just don't have that now. And we will have that, but we just don't have that now. So that means is that we know from the last 2 years is in December, January, and February, you can see your breath in this building. And it's just impossible to have programming in here because your fingers are numb and nobody's comfortable. So what we do is we just take a break. We take a break in December, in January, and February. And we wait for sometimes, because we know sometimes those 70 days come on us in February and March. We wait to see how that goes. And that's when you'll start seeing postings again. So we're just going to go on break for a while. It's a little depressing because we have to close the bookstore as well. So everyone thinks, oh my goodness, they're closed. Oh my, this is a small business that's shuttering. No, it's just we're waiting for the HVAC to be realized. So, but what it does, like we all of us Missourians do in the wintertime, we take inventory. Some of the gardeners think about the spring. They start ordering all those seeds. Some of us clean our houses. Not all of us do things like that. The poets in the room, the creatives, paint and we write and we do those kinds of things during the cold months. And we think about the sun, and sometimes we spend time with family, with friends. Here at OAC, we have artists that are staying with us, that stay with us all year long. We don't quit. So we have a residency program, artists that stay with us. Right now, we'll have 5 or 6 artists that will be with us through the winter, and they're doing the same thing. There's no open mics. The gallery will be open, but it'll be slow foot traffic. So everyone's just being quiet like we do in Missouri. We go really slowly and we stay warm and we spend time with our friends and family. So that's what's going to happen. So John Dorsey tells Caitlin that tonight is our last program here. And John Dorsey, as all of you know, we love him, and he manages all the programming for this space. Not the books and not the sales. He manages these events. So he tells us that we're going to take a break because he works on Wednesdays here at the bookstore, and he doesn't want to be cold either. So John is telling us March, I think, is when we're going to reconvene. So please friend if you do Facebook, friend Barb's books, because then you'll get the postings of when we'll start the schedule up. And always contact Caitlin, contact Young Lady, any of the poets. They'll know when we're going to start that program up. Was that the speech that you wanted?
That sounded great.
Great.
He just whipped that right up.
But again, happy holidays to all of you, because it is that time. Last weekend we were putting Santa stuff up here, and everybody knows I'm the Grinch. So, because I hate putting it all away, because I'm the guy that gets to put everything away in January. But we decorated a little bit here. We took all the fall stuff down. So we were the first business on Main Street to have Christmas decorations before even for Halloween. So we were, they were.
You're way ahead of yourself.
We're like Walmart. So.
They're too.
But again, I can't thank you enough for being here. This is not a secret. Bring friends. Bring other creatives. Bring people that you've been telling this about. Telling this whole thing. There's a little place in Belle. Bring these, because I see a lot of pairings. So that means one person had the faith to come here and the other person came along. Do that more because it's worth it. It's really worth it. And this is good entertainment, I think, but it's also really good for your soul, I think. So do that in the springtime, because we'll be out. The world will be different in March. We know that. Right now it's different. We're under a lot of, Steve, when he was reading, touched on the politics. There's a lot of things that are happening. But we know in Missouri, when that sun comes out and those warm days start to hit above 50 degrees, everybody puts those shorts on and gets those tennis shoes on, and it's a different world. So when you see us again, it'll be that time again. So, but again, thank you for coming to an arts event. We really appreciate that. When you're at work on Monday, tell people that you went to an arts event in Belle, Missouri. Thank you. Thanks for being here.
follow up what Mark said a little bit about Facebook. We are also trying to build a Belle Poet Laureate Facebook following. And that is going to include stuff that John has done, John Dorsey has done, what we're doing currently. But my hope is over the winter, while maybe OAC and Barb's Books is a little bit quiet, I know there are other things going on throughout our area, and trying to share some of that on that page as well. So if you haven't, consider following that as well.
Who is that current Belle Poet Laureate?
No idea.
I know who it is.
Caitlin is.
Yes, I'm very happy to be able to do that for the city of Belle. And also when Mark reached out and said, hey, what about a Facebook page to chronicle what our Belle Poet Laureates do, I was happy we could get that up and running. So I'm going to call up our first open micer. I'm not following my list in order, so if you thought you were going first, so sorry. But I'm going to let Ken Gerke come up first.
Thank you. And of course, thoughts for John Dorsey. All right. 3 short ones. My daughter just turned 30 this year. She has type 2 diabetes. She was diagnosed when she was type 1 diabetes. Thank you. She has type 1 diabetes. She was diagnosed when she was 8 years old. And that was another life for me back when she was born. I wanted to name her Elise. That was one of the small differences that I lost out on back in that other life. So this is titled For Elise. And maybe you know the Beethoven composition For Elise. Sweetness means nothing and everything. Like an arrow in the heart of a child, or her leg, her fingertips. Any circumstance can seem random. The outcome, not so much. Will she whimper in the night? There is no organ that can carry that tune. Consider 20,000 finger sticks, a small part of a life. Roget's thesaurus offers 7 injections. 1 would be sufficient, but it's never enough. Too many things can go wrong. Sure, organs can be replaced at a cost. Limbs don't have that luxury. Is her vision of the future cloudy or clear? Hope for a positive note. So, thank you. She's doing really well. She's right on top of it. I'm very proud of her. She has 2 daughters. She's doing great. Okay, so I go kayaking. Sometimes I write poems about kayaking. Some people here have heard poems that I've written about kayaking. Alleging contentment. On a leisurely paddle, I turn this way as leaves stream by, and I follow a stream that has no one direction. I arrive at my favorite spot beneath a limestone ledge, caving above ground on the water. I enjoy the breeze that flows beneath the rock ceiling, become one more rock in the river, invisible to the world out there in the sun. A heron fishes on the other shore, and turtles sun themselves on a log. Rested, I paddle out of the shade. The heron takes flight. Startled, the turtles drop, and we all head home. And the last one has a turtle in it. It's a tonka. It's real short. Turtle slips from log, absence marked by gentle waves. Circles in a pond. Thoughts turn to pen and paper. Immersion in the moment.
Thank you, Ken. Next up, I think we're going to have somebody who, I'm not sure if he's read here before or not. Mark, I don't know how to pronounce your last name. I apologize.
It's spelled funny or pronounced funny, one of the two. It's pronounced put off.
¿Por qué no los dos?
Why not both? Yeah.
Greek.
Spanish.
My name, our name is actually German.
Oh, yeah.
What did he
Oh,
say?
Yeah, German.
the last time we were here, I talked about the fact that when I taught English, I challenged, told kids I could write about any topic that they would give me, and I read one, and then I mentioned that I had one entitled Yeast Infection, and John Dorsey, thank you, asked me to read it, and I didn't have it with me, so I brought it tonight. So I'm going to read Yeast Infection. And on a professional note about this, having never had one, this is pure poetic license. Yeast infection. Discomfort, unease, waiting for relief. The cream to solve all problems is a lie on the side of a tube. You don't have to do that, really. I grew up in the country and became a teacher, so everybody thinks I'm a city boy. And when my father got really ill, I went out one day to mow hay for him. And that's what this poem is. It's entitled 92301. There's a certain solace that comes from riding a tractor. You, the machine, the land, and the Lord communing in a manner only each could understand. It is during this time that I know why a man could choose to work the land for a lifetime. When I sit in my office with the window, I sometimes may think myself better off than those who have to work the land. But on the seat of this old Alice, I doubt my thinking. This actually is another one of those challenges of any topic. It's entitled Blackboard Shadows, and I don't know what I was drinking or something that day because this is Blackboard Shadows. Images of children born, children dying, whales' feet, fishes' demise, all lost at sea, flood my mind, creating confusion and leaving tears from a smile long ago dead. One of the types of poems that I really like is imagism. If you've never read The Red Wheelbarrow, you should, because it is fantastic. About this long, and it is just so cool. And this is a type of imagism. It's called a school bus on the corner. Lights blink yellow, on, off, gone. And this one's entitled I Will Not Grieve. It's about my father. I will not grieve him until he is dead. He will eventually succumb to you, perhaps tomorrow, perhaps a year of tomorrows. But I will not grieve for him until he is dead. I will check the cows as many times as he wishes. I will sit on the front patio when we visit, but I will not grieve for him until he is dead. For those who think they can surmise how little time he has left, but I will not grieve for him until he is dead. I will talk of Walter, Bob, Virgil, May, Opal, Martha, and any others until I am blue in the face. I will listen to the same story 1,000 times if need be, but I will not grieve for him until he is dead. I will try to know his mannerisms, and I will help my children get to know him as well they can in the time they are with him, but I will not grieve for him until he is dead. When that day has come, grief will walk by my side, and I will mourn, but I will not grieve for him until he is dead. I will end with another one about my wife, because she's one of my favorite topics. It's entitled Patty, just like the last one that I read about her. Patty. You skirt the edges of my mind no matter what I'm doing, and come to me in moments of silence and when those around me are clamoring for my attention. You bring that little telling smile to my lips, causing others to question what is on my mind. You ground my heart as we navigate the paths of our life together, keeping me centered with the touch of your gentle hand.
Thank you very much, Mark. I think next up we'll have Judge John Clayton. And with election on Tuesday, can you tell us the importance of voting? That's your go-to usually at this time of year, so I'm gonna let you have
Well, it
a
is.
tiny platform for that.
Vote.
That was great.
You can vote early.
And vote off.
Vote off.
Yeah.
You did say a tiny platform.
I did. You did so well. I think him and Mark were rehearsing their speeches earlier together. So
Well, I'm really glad to see all these older poets here. That's, you know, a lot of times I see all these young people try to explain stuff because they don't have any reference to what I'm talking about. But I guess this written by old people. Old people, it's just, I'm old, you guys are not that old. I guess. This piece, I've been kind of embarrassed about it, but I decided, what the hell, I'll go ahead and read it anyway. It's called Your Styling Papa. She was at the desk at Motel 6 in Spokane Valley. 50-ish, narrow face, sharp nose, dark eyes, sandy hair pulled back in a bun. The tiniest bit of gray hair at the temples. Face framed by large round glasses with Skittles blue frames. Hey, love your hat, she says. I'll look up to see if she's making fun of me. Her direct look smile tells me she's not. She flirted with me. Well, it is 3 o'clock in the afternoon and she's bored. Probably good, but it still feels pretty good. Hell hasn't happened in years. The next day, when I check out, she's there again with a teenage boy. The kid says, "Go Pat, man." She smiles and says, "Love that peach shirt. You're styling, Papa." I say, "Thanks," turn, and leave. I was talking to Ed Geller, which some of you know. Ed has moved on to the big time. He's writing screenplays out in California now. But you know, he kind of goaded me into trying some haiku. So, and I know it's supposed to be about nature, but none of mine are that way. But of course, he comes as my hero, and I totally ignored English teacher's mark. Okay, these are kind of dark. Our Papa Hemingway knew what the shotgun was for. All the pain is gone. Richard Brodigan stared at the dark, distant, roaring sea, rooted to his temple. Evil, Lee Harvey Oswald, deprived the world of a great man. Jack Ruby, even the score. Shinzo Abe, make a double barrel from pipe, ugly death machine. Ronald Reagan, shot in chest. John Hinckley, batshit crazy, now free after 4 years. Crazed Charles Manson, used pretty ladies for his bloody work. Squeaky from, bitch. Efficient grandfather, went outside to do the deed. Ants cleaned up the blood. White ghost, arms extended, even in death, standing at attention, the military way. Dealing with war wounds, no one enjoys doing it, like cleaning up vomit. And this one's kind of about election and my frustration. Today's feckless voters' attention span of the fruit fly. Aloha, American democracy. Bridgens there. I saw him told me about these oval bob points. So this one kind of on that. Bob may use waders, but Frisco Bill ain't got no money. He has to fish naked. Beauty and the Beast. Fairy tales are not just for kids. Everybody has a shot. Orthopedic doc gives meaning to body work, repairs damaged parts. The unexpected life, small window into your soul. Thanks for a little peek. I see that little smile as you turn and walk away. What are you thinking? And with that, I'm going to read one last bit I did the other day. It's called The Adobe House. The Adobe homestead at El Malpais is just a pile of worn-out mud bricks. Even in the desert, things are rotted away. Horny toads and rattlesnakes face hunger too. Sometimes there seems to be no other way. Blowing dust, caterpillar tractors, bank floor closers, and sheriffs with guns gave them no choice. Things must have been really bad in Oklahoma to decide to try it here. Maybe they ran out of gas and nickels and grants and turned south. Maybe the tree cholla was heavy with fruit and they saw that as a sign. I wonder if anybody made it out of here alive. There are no grave markers, but that don't mean much. Mother Nature reclaims everything on Earth sooner or later. I would like to think that anyone tough enough to start a homestead where nothing else lives could make it out here alive. I sure hope they did.
Thank you, John. I think the next person I'm going to have come up here has recently become one of my favorite authors, and her book has a nice little special place at my house. So we're going to have Leslie Day come up.
So I'm going to be reading a few poems out of my book Authenticity, but before that I'm just going to read one short one from my upcoming collection, which is called The Absence of Light. And that collection is going to kind of be focused on grief. Severed Souls. Build thee a bridge across the gap of severed souls, that I may walk along the stones and meet thy love once more, to stare into his clear blue eyes and see his shining smile, to wrap thy arms around his neck and press thy lips to his, to feel the warmth of his skin radiating beneath thy palms, to hear his voice say thy name and know that he loves thee so. Build thee a bridge across the gap of severed souls. Alright, so a lot of my poems are pretty long, so I'm only going to do one of the longer ones, and I'll do that one last, and then just a few short ones. This one is called Painted Colors. I've painted this soul with colors, and brought to light the darkness. With painful, determined precision, broken hands created designs adrip with infectious desires, traveling through bursting, fragile veins. Strokes of color do not come easy, nor do they come quickly. But all it takes is one small blink to paint black over all the colors and drench this soul in darkness. This one is called Ricochet. I am a ricochet murmur of the person I used to be, a meager resemblance of the rhythm I once beat, a reflection skewed by the jagged edges of shattered glass, a broken bone that didn't set right, a memory that got the details mixed up, a loud voice that forgot how to speak. This one is called Chaotic Thoughts. Sleep is an elusive thing that always comes too slowly. I lie awake in bed at night and stare into the dark. Chaotic thoughts keep me company in the absence of the light. They tell me stories of the past that leave my eyes no longer dry, or they may create a fantasy that is still untold to me. At times they race across my mind in simple lines of poetry. Sleep may not be a friend of mine, but chaotic thoughts always come to say hello to me. And this one is called Nothing More Than a Prick. In my room there is a shelf, and on that shelf sits a long row of distorted storybooks, written for my eyes and my eyes alone. Every line of every page dripping with the scrawled ink of a hand in motion. They're filled with the hopes and dreams that poured from my mind, pain and fear that bled from my fingertips, stained sheets of who I was and who I have become. I still remember the first thing I ever wrote. It was about my first broken heart, or at least what my 14-year-old mind perceived as heartbreak. I read all my stories a while back, and there were a lot of words masquerading as heartbreak in the pages of my early days. A lot of those pages caused me to cringe, like I cringed when hearing someone write with chalk, or the sound foam mix as it scrapes against the sides of a cardboard box, or even the thought of a nail file coming in contact with a nail. I cringed. It wasn't the writing itself that caused me to cringe, but more so the words I chose to write. I was so damn dramatic. I knew nothing of love, and I certainly knew nothing of pain. I still remember the streams of tears that flowed and the sick feeling that kicked up his feet in the pit and made a home in the pit of my stomach while I wrote those words. I remember hating that feeling. I remember wishing I could feel anything other than the heavy stones that weighed down my heart and gut. Who knew the flowing streams of tears in reality were only puddles? Who knew the stones that weighed me down were only tiny pebbles? Who knew I would one day envy feeling so strongly over something so trivial? I no longer feel as a normal person should feel. I no longer experience pain in the same way. My senses have been dulled down like the knife in my careless hands that slides across my finger but doesn't break the skin because it lost its sharpness long ago. And just like the knife that doesn't cut, I'm surprised at the lack of feeling when someone tears open my soul. I'm surprised at the lack of blood on the cutting board. I've turned their weapons into useless utensils. They're incapable of causing me pain. The stones I swallow feel less than a pebble. And the rivers, they no longer flow. I can't even muster a mere puddle. My eyes become tiny deserts that thirst for a drop of water to hydrate their barren ground. But the sun continues to blaze and the rain stays far away. I've cried vast oceans. I've been crushed and buried by mountains. I've been sliced and cut till I was a bloody mess. I've tasted hell. I've seen the devil face to face. He shattered my windows and entered my home. He's poured his flame straight down my throat, and I choked on the black smoke as the fire melted me from the inside out. No, I no longer feel pain as I should. It is now only a pinprick to my skin. And I do have copies of my book, Authenticity, if anybody is interested, just let me know.
As Mark said, it's really important when we come to these things that we bring friends. And so tonight, Leslie brought her friend Jen with her, and she's going to share with us.
Yes.
So we're going to have Jen come up.
Hi. So this is my first time reading, long time listener. Leslie encouraged me to start reading when I wrote. So this one's titled Angry. Angry. Damn right I'm angry. Angry flows through my veins like the lava flowing from a burning volcano, melting away any chance of forgiveness that you will ever get. The anger that consumes me wants to tap on the door of your soul and set it on fire. You should have to burn in the flames the way I do. Never truly living life, but merely just existing. All from your actions, all from your unspoken words. But you sit silent while my anger passes you by. The next one is called of these words down on paper, that I no longer speak out loud. To see my words scribbled and stained on these pages cuts deep to my bones before I even had the chance to warn them. The next one is called The Rush. I say, goddamn, what a rush. To feel you there right beside me, the warmth of your body turning mine into fire, as if the flames of desire are building within my soul. I reach out to make sure you're still there, only to find emptiness in my own hands, searching for you in the midst of the air. In those mere moments you had left, taking everything I ever wanted in one single breath. This one is When the Night Comes. I don't think that was the one I named on the way here, so I don't know if that's... Okay. Have you ever felt comfort from the night? Solitude that washes over you as the night comes to life, where the darkness surrounds you, engulfs you? Does your soul ever connect to the darkness that welcomes you in as its arms open up to you? I feel comfort as she takes me into the night, hand in hand. Sometimes she takes me to places where all the characters come alive, have taken their places, and are part of the show. And my last one is called Please Return to Cinder. A few months ago, someone handed me a box, and little did I know that in this box would be full of darkness. The kind of darkness that steals away your future heartfelt moments and takes away the hope of other boxes to come. I never asked for this box to be given to me, but if I had the chance, I would pack this box back up and mark it, Please Return to Cinder.
Let's keep that going for Jen. That's her first time sharing.
Yeah.
And hopefully you'll come back and share more. We absolutely would love that.
Yeah, Leslie's all over me on that.
Love this going here. All right, next up we're going to have Miss Mary Edwards come up to read.
Okay. A little over 2 weeks ago, we were blessed with the arrival of our first great-grandchild, Hudson Alexander. So I thought tonight I'd share a few poems about babies and children. The first one, some of them are in this book, my book along the way, and some of them are ones I've written since. So, Baby Babblings. From unknown center, they surge up, burst from tiny lips, potent as geysers, defying gravity, to trust triumphant into their world, beckoned by the love from which they came. They start small, simple single sounds, da-das or babas, but soon expand to strings of syllables, draw oohs and ahs, smiles and hand claps from captivated parents. Little utterings, these cast out lines that snag and hook hearts. And this next poem is one I wrote several years ago when my second son was just a baby. In his dreams. We breathe in oneness. Wisp of shiny, fine hair caress my cheek. His baby breath warms my neck to awareness. Twitches sees, sleep has conquered. His eyes gauge his dreams, roving bumps under closed lids. Restless, he finally succumbed, my long, dark strands of hair twisted in chubby, sweaty fingers, his security blanket for dreamland. He smiles, and I wonder, so fresh in this life as he wanders in the depths of the unconscious, is his smile a collective echo of joy and life? He lies heavy on my breast, my son, my love? What will he glimpse in his dream wanderings, times beyond me? What time capsules of sharing, learning, laughing can we create to transcend me, sustain him in his dreams? A seed of worth I'll plant in him, tend it with faith in him unswerving, gently prune it with love's fine edge. Then perhaps the future man will stride bold in his life's dreams, creating, yet needing, loving, running not in life's confusions from his shadows, weaving all into his circle of existence, secure with something to hold on to in his dreams. And this next one I wrote a couple of years ago, but it reflects a time when I was expecting my first child. I tucked it into the gift of rocking chair we gave to our granddaughter when she was expecting our little Hudson. Rocking chair moments. I'm standing with my mom on the wide concrete front porch of the white and sage green shingle house that I grew up in, scrutinizing an old oaken rocking chair she had bought from a traveling salesman some 20 years ago. It isn't so spry looking anymore, and its weathered gray color and roughened boards that threaten splinters. Still, I sit in it, close my eyes, picture a babe in my arms, set it into motion with push of my feet, and find it isn't wobbly. It will be perfect, I say, looking up at Mom. I've scrubbed it down, given it the coarse, medium, and fine sandpaper stages of wood facials, stained it a warm honey oak. I reach and touch the shining smoothness, and my hand flits instinctively to my growing bump, my baby cocooned yet within. And I softly promise, soon, little one, soon, we'll try this out. I'm rocking my baby to the rhythm of pats on his back, our hearts pressed against each other, his gentle heartbeat melting into mine, dissolving away my tiredness as I smile, whisper to him what glows in my heart. We are linked together forever, precious love. And in wee morning hours, I savor such delightfully under-anticipated rocking chair moments. And the last one that I'm going to read tonight, it's one that I wrote while remembering some of the cherished moments of parenting and grandparenting. I have 8 grandkids and a great-grandchild now, and 3 children. Okay, Puff. Together, my children, grandchildren, and I created magical worlds, rode our imaginations like dragons, frolicked happily, bursting the ordinary confining bubbles of life as we roared out our fiery breaths of freedom, flying high on life. We were sword-wielding pirates defending empty grandstand ship, princesses wrapping sequin fabric into sparkling gowns, billy goats gruff stomping across wooden bridges, turtles with cardboard box shells creeping across carpet field, Goldilocks curled up on baby bear's bed awakening to bears. We talked penguinese, braying donkey, barking dog, role-played chefs, teachers, parents, policemen, doctors, could switch in a flash from tiger fiercely attacking to gentle rabbit nibbling. In roles as wide as our imaginations, we sampled the smorgasbord of life. I know Puff, exuberant, real, yet fleeting exhalations of life, released into the world. I am Puff, one day realizing my days of Jackie Paper coming were no more. The little ones had looked away, marched on with the pulse of life, as children must do, their memories fading into the mist of youth. So our magical adventures live on, only for me. They have slunk into the cave of my heart, where they live forever, wistfully.
Next up, we're going to have a gentleman who you've heard his name several times tonight, Mr. Jason Reberg.
Love that ass.
Throw gold dollar coins, please. Great. Be wrestling with that guy all night. This is called Devil on the Line. Waking violently in the dark from a late afternoon nap wherein I had been dreaming I was a disgraced opera singer in a former life. The television playing with the sound on mute and the clock blinking as if there had been a power outage while I slept. Outside, the night was beginning to descend its steep stairwell, and a poodle was barking from a fourth floor brownstone balcony across the street, distracting me momentarily. And then the phone is suddenly ringing, and it's the devil on the line. Yes, that devil, asking if I plan on coming into work this evening, or what. No name, so we're going to call this one George. Dusk now, and a murder of crows has settled down for the evening to occupy this little stony inner city ghost town of a graveyard grown over with weeds and wildflowers, and a black umbrella is wafting and twirling above the treetops on a current of wind, and the guy on the radio is saying someone just shot up the Get and Go. The Get and Go. Never go to the Get and Go, you'll get shot. Oh, this one doesn't have a name either. Charlie. It's not really rain in the way one might think of it when someone suddenly says, "Hey, it's raining out there," whether light or heavy. And it's not even a drizzle really, but more of a dripping that just won't stop. And every now and then, from a number of unknown positions in the trees, groups of crows have been trading insults with each other back and forth all day. Call! 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 I'm going to leave that part in there. If it does shock people, it does kind of shock people. You were sleeping through my fucking poem, and that part woke you up. Guy's writing a poem about crows. What's with these no-name mutants? I guess this lone sweat bee is going to be my only drinking companion this exceptionally warm late afternoon in early November. Most of the leaves on the ground already, spastic squirrels ripping and tearing around like they'd found a bag of meth out in the woods behind the cooker's compound down the road. Hummingbirds, and the hummingbirds gone for the season, it seems. So it's just me and my new friend here, toasting to each other's good health between drinks. Really? Is that how it's going to be? Okay. All right, that's one. That's one. And maybe not that one. No. Certainly not.
Not appropriate for that.
Yeah. That's when the music's going, no. Okay, we'll see where this one goes. The southbound train passes us by, its horn a long, slow, free jazz solo, somewhere on the other side of the horizon. Here at that precise moment, where and when the final fingernail sliver of sun slides away out of sight, except for the last bit of afterglow, of course, the first few fireflies start to peep out from their
Son of a bitch, Reaver.
I have to rewrite things.
That's, I know, I rewrite constantly. All right, this is it. At midnight, there's a lady with a face of smoke, standing in a field of blue snow, and the moon resonates out across the prairie like an ancient temple bell suddenly making this random moment of stepping out on the back porch to take an urgent piss into the courtyard of a Zen monastery somewhere in the mountains of Japan, and there is no rush of wind through the trees, no hooting of owls, nothing to disturb us. Thank you. Sorry for the split. Shameful! Shameful!
It's always a good time when we can get Jason to read. Thank you so much, Jason. He was actually our last open micer, but if you guys don't mind, I would like to share a couple.
Yeah.
This first one you guys have heard, but I just recently got my first tattoo, and so it's kind of goes along with that. Speaking of which, this is the title of my book.
I believe the last Belle's book thing you were talking about it.
Yeah,
You weren't
I
sure if
think
you
you
were
did.
gonna do it, and he was pushing you to do it. I
All
remember.
My question is, what's the second one?
Do you need some help with that?
Yeah, because there's going to be a second and a third. And
I know, I've already got it planned. I'm just going to move that before I try to do that again. For those who don't know, I apologize if you didn't see me clapping a lot. I fractured my shoulder, so I was like tapping on the couch. So trying to catch that music stand was not the greatest. But yeah, I've got more tattoos planned. They're in the works.
Good.
So this is called Early Midlife Crisis or Delayed Teenage Rebellion. Call it a midlife crisis or delayed teenage rebellion, whatever you want to call it is fine by me. It feels more like taking a sledgehammer to the internal mental wall between who I am and who I let others perceive. Each new hole may show as an outward rebellious choice, but to me, it's blue hair, tattoos, different clothes, dark lipstick, and it's a transformation into an authentic me. The next one is called Say It Out Loud. You're lying. You're lying to yourself, and until you can say it out loud, you'll continue living that lie. It doesn't feel good to be accused of lying, does it? Your skin crawls with the accusation. Why are you hiding it? People might judge you, but I thought we agreed that we didn't give a shit about their backwards opinions anyway. Let those people have their shitty opinions. It doesn't change who we are. So say it out loud, or say it softly if you have to at first. Eventually, you're going to yell it. It won't change a single thing about who you are. So please, I'm begging you, just say it. Just let it out. I don't want to hide any longer. I don't want you to hide any longer. Shit, why are we hiding? So please, just say it out loud and feel the lift of the secret fly off your mind and chest. And as you are freed from this lie, it'll be okay. Okay, fine. You're not ready, but eventually it will be a secret you feel safe enough to share. And with that, I want to thank everybody for coming out to the open mic night. Please keep John Dorsey in your thoughts and prayers if you're the praying type. He is going through some medical health, which is why he is not here tonight. He was just exhausted, and I was happy he reached out and gave me this opportunity to host. So thank you very much, and I appreciate everybody coming. Again, we're going to take a break, but watch Facebook, kind of talk to anybody in this room, and we'll let you know when things kick back up.
Can I say something?
Absolutely.
For those of you who want to continue going to poetry, Gumbo Bottoms has poetry in Jefferson City on the first Monday night of each month at 7 o'clock. Unless it's a holiday. Ken Gerke and Monty are always there. Mark Put off?
Put up, yeah.
And
I'm just sticking with Mark.
her will usually be there. Me. Really nice people, really supportive. Different vibe. They serve alcohol, good beer,
They're
good
actually
whiskey.
closed on Mondays, but they do this.
Well, that's
Yeah, this is for poets.
Yeah,
And
for both.
you'll like it. It's a different group, a different vibe, but I bet you'll like it.
It's fun.
So for those 4 months that you can't come here, you can go there.
This coming Monday, if you're interested, Gumbo Bottoms, Just City.
It's on Madison Street, right across from Madison's Cafe, right next to the parking garage.
Pizza joint next door.
And apparently pizza.
Yeah. Are they open on Monday?
Oh, no.
Or at least they weren't the last time.
Pizza.
No,
Is
yeah.
Madison's
No
even open
pizza.
on Monday?
But,
But apparently good beer.
and Gumbo doesn't serve food, but you can bring it in if you wanna get it somewhere else.
Alright. Okay, thank you very much, guys. I appreciate you so much. Have a good night.
Thank you,
Happy
Kim.
holidays.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You too. Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you too.
I love